Hello, I am Jamie Windust, and to celebrate International Non-Binary Day, Jecca Blac have asked me to put on a little face using some of their products, as well as answering some questions all about being trans and non-binary and what International Non-Binary Day means to me. So let's go. So actually to prime, I'm going to start with the new Jecca Blac Glow Drops, which these ones are in Rose Pearl. So I'm just going to throw a bit of glamour on. We love to see it. Just so I can get a bit of a glue. I think it's really important to just kind of, within your own space and time as a non-binary person, like speak about your experiences when you feel comfortable. I think a lot of the time, because it's such a thing that a lot of people want to know more about, often people can just presume that if you're non-binary that you're going to suddenly just like vocalize your experience all the time, and it's like, well, actually you can talk about it whenever you want to talk about it, though. If that is never, if that is all the time, up to you. How did you discover that you were comfortable with they them pronouns and living outside the gender binary? I think for me it's something that I've always thought of as something that was an option for me, but I've never had, I think that at the time when I was like 16, 17, I never really had the accessibility to the knowledge of what it was that I wanted to do. I didn't actually know the language. I didn't know kind of a lot about being non-binary or even the trans community. So I always had those feelings, but I could never really place them anywhere. And I kind of discovered that through beauty and through fashion. I always kind of used it as an outlet to explore myself and find who I was. And I think that's why I find gender expression so important, and that's why I talk about gender expression so much, is because it's actually incredibly vital for a lot of non-binary and gender non-conforming people to find who they are and to really be comfortable within that. Pop a bit of concealer on. I think when it came to they them pronouns, that wasn't really something that I started with. It was something that evolved with me kind of thinking more about my gender identity and thinking about the ways in which I wanted and felt most comfortable to be spoken to and addressed. So I think, like a lot of non-binary people, it takes time and it's a learning curve for us as much as it is often for other people, and we're constantly learning about who we are. And you know, pronouns change. For me, they them pronouns fit now, whereas at the beginning I didn't use these pronouns. And I think often we can kind of get into situations where we don't use pronouns for many reasons. It can be because we think it can be too difficult, or we think it be almost like a hindrance for other people. And I think it's about realizing that we are more than that, and we shouldn't have to cater something that's so important like pronouns and identity for other people's comfortability. So I'm very comfortable using they them pronouns now, and it's something that is incredibly easy and impactful. You know, it's something that's so quick and easy, but it's really affirming and important when people use them. I'm just going to go into the colour correct one for a bit round the old beard. Now I've got my foundation here, and what I'm going to do is just add a couple of teeny weeny drops of the glow drops to my foundation, so the foundation becomes nice and glowing and delicious. I think when it came to kind of like also realizing about being non-binary, it came from a moment for me where I think, in terms of social media and the media itself, like we were in a time where trans representation was increasing. I could see myself more within the people that I was following on social media. I could find that community at a time when I wasn't in London. I wasn't surrounded by LGBTQ plus people. There's only 2 or 3 other people that I knew in my town essentially that were out, and they weren't trans. So it was a situation where I was actually felt so isolated. But finding people online that were sharing who they were authentically as non-binary people really helped me kind of realize that I was able to live in a way that was neither male nor female and was whatever I wanted it to be. I think one massive misconception about being non-binary is that there is one way to look non-binary. I think this often comes from this place of people thinking it's all about androgyny, and people kind of putting those two together and being like, to be non-binary you must be androgynous or you must be femme, or it's really frustrating because it can often push people to not be comfortable to come out as non-binary, or it can make people feel like they're not non-binary enough, which is deeply frustrating. Being non-binary is not a look, it's an identity, it's a feeling. It's not just an outward expression. And I think often what people feel like is that, if you don't look non-binary enough, then people don't believe you, or people kind of take it less seriously, or they kind of get so confused by it that they just don't bother educating themselves on the issues surrounding non-binary identities. So that's a massive misconception that I'm not a fan of, and I think it's really damaging. I think for me, for non-binary day, I would rather that the non-binary people who are the subject of the day actually take a moment to actually just breathe and remember who they are and remember how important they are in the community and amongst their peers and amongst their friends. I know it's a day for education, it's a day where a lot of our issues and our representation is heightened, but I think that can come at such an expense for us as a community. We are such a small population within this country specifically, yet we are talked about almost every day, and trans people are talked about every single day within the media. And I think often, although days like this are good because it can highlight issues, it also can shine a spotlight on us, which isn't always actually that great. And for me, what I'd say is that non-binary day is about realizing that that is every day, and that we do not need to just be celebrated today. I think it's very easy in this climate to forget that we are worthy of celebration, worthy of happiness, and worthy of creativity, and worthy of so many other things than just being a group that constantly has to fight. I think that's really important, and that's what I would say to myself and to other non-binary people on this day. My book is out soon, which I'm really excited about, which is called In Their Shoes, which is my journey so far navigating non-binary life. And I'm really excited for that to be into the world. So by the next non-binary day, hopefully, what I personally would have liked to achieve is to continue feeling like I'm able to enjoy what I'm doing without having to constantly feel like I'm pushing myself into a space that is emotionally intense and emotionally laborious a lot of the time. In terms of the wider community, in terms of the trans community, what I'd like to see hopefully is a change in the GRA that reflects the kindness and the compassion that trans people have, and that they do not deserve what is currently in the world and in the UK with the GRA process. What I would want to see is a process that is streamlined for them, and unfortunately I don't think that is going to happen at the moment. I think we're about to see a really harsh GRA consultation result, but by next year what I'd hope is that they've realised that this is not something that we should be living through and living under, and I hope that that has changed. And I'd also like to see neutral passports and ex-passports in this country, because it's happening so rapidly now around the world with ex-passports being introduced, because other countries have realised that it's unnecessary to have gender markers on documentation such as passports, so I'd really love to see that come to fruition. I think to non-binary people who are not out yet or who are just coming to terms with who they are, I'd say take your time with coming out. There's no rush. Coming out is a concept that is outdated, it's unnecessary, it's a burden on your shoulders that isn't yours to bear. And I think although you do want people to know and you want people to be supportive of you, it's important that you do it in your own time, because at the end of the day, it's you as a person and as a human being who is going to be impacted by this the most. So take your time, gather your chosen family and your community behind you if you can, whether that be physically or through social media, and know that you will always, always, always have a chosen family to be there and hold your hand through whatever happens, the good or the bad. Because I think often in great circumstances, there are still things that, you know, family and friends can struggle to understand, and it's great to have that chosen family and that community with you at all times. Ta-da! Thank you so much to Jecca Blac for allowing me to talk to you today and share my experiences and my feelings towards today and about being a non-binary person. Make sure you check out all of their new bits and bobs online, and to celebrate International Non-Binary Day, make sure that you share the love and the generosity and kindness and compassion with your non-binary siblings today. So I will love you and leave you. It's been lovely. It's a pleasure as always. And have a splendid rest of your day.